do a second hole as well if you wanted to. And then just join them up, just like that. That's taking out a little bit more wood, a little bit quicker for you. Not exactly carving, but it definitely helps you get through that wood there. Then you can just tidy those up a little bit with a knife or a small gouge. Rounding off this arm, as it said earlier on. So the arm will start taking a bit more shape now, and you'll know where to go to make the length of the arm that you actually finally decide on, whether you want to come all the way down here or not, or whether you just want to come in with the elbow and tuck his hands into his pockets, in which case you could take all this wood off here and then just have his hands literally up there somewhere going into the jeans of his pocket, and you could also slice a bit more off the top of this so his hands tucking into his pocket. You could do both sides, just one side. I might do one of each on this one now, maybe, see how it goes. But yeah, you need to keep on going through now with the gouge till all that is tidied up. That can take you a good few minutes to get that done. So I'm going to leave that off camera and come back to that at another point once it's done. See if you're watching the boring bits of just scraping away bit by bit, going through, but you can kind of get the idea there. It certainly looks a bit ugly at the start, but all will work out in the end. His body will come further down because it'll look like his back is like half an inch lower than that at the end anyway. Again, if I show you on the other one, you can see how much further down his arms are to where his body is down, and the body comes through from the side there. Okay. Especially the lower part of it, it helps you sort of just have the cuff of a hat, of a shirt or something down at the bottom here. So imagine that being a cuff of a shirt, or if this was his glove, it'd be the back end of his glove up there, and then you've only literally got a thin slither here touching the body. I suppose even if you wanted to, you could slice through there with a bandsaw as well, right the way through at the right angle. I think it'd be a little bit difficult with a saw like that, but you could slice it bit by bit with a knife. Again, that's a little bit difficult, but micro tools, you certainly could get it through there, no problem at all. So, once you've gotten through the drill, once or twice though, just giving it a bit of a wiggle up carefully so you don't break the drill bit. You just clean up all around the inside of this, starting to round up around the arms and things as well at the same time, getting rid of any of that marks that's come from the drill. All I'm doing at this point is just trying to tidy it up. I'm trying to gain any depth anywhere or anything really. You can see how that's opening up that side. off its arm a little bit. Tidying up as you go along, or tidying that through there. A little bit of patience for this, but it comes together quite nicely in the end. Just little slithers here and there. As I said, just taking off only the marks that's come from the drill. We'll refine the armpits or depths and everything in a second when we know how clean the piece of wood it is. Again, all this can be done with the knife. Just takes a little bit more time. Just by taking little V-cuts out at a time, twisting the knife a little bit, not to break the tip. And if you've got a more flexible knife, then all the better. Find that some knives are good at doing it, and then you'll have other knives then just the shape of the knife itself and the blade just isn't so suitable. Alright, if you've got lucky enough to have a couple of knives, just give them a go. You might find one like this one from Gear. It's nice. It's a nice little blade that bend a little bit, but not too much. It allows you to sort of curl the blade a little bit. Just a little bit is enough to get a bit of that rounding going on. Just take little curls out at a time. Eventually it'll come all good. Pretty much all gone there now. Of course you could use a bit of sandpaper if you want to, a bit of 60 grit, 80 grit, something around that area, and then maybe just put another 200 or 160 on it. Try and get away, get it all smooth if you wanted to, but you still got a lot of cutting away to do yet. Personally, I wouldn't bother with any sandpaper just yet, unless you're struggling with a knife to get through in these little areas where you can't sort of curl the knife a little bit like I'm doing there to get rid of the marks from the drill. Gives pretty good result. Got to go the direction of the grain, of course. If the grain is coming down, coming this way, stage down like my fingers are there, you have to slice these So if the wood is going the other way, then all you're going to do is dig in each time. So you go this way, taking the curl off. If I try and go that way, it's going to do straight away what it's done there, and it's just going to dig in and make it worse. So down with the grain one way, and then when you reach the bottom there, you'll have to go the other way here. The bottom section there, it's always going to be the one that's a bit more tricky. We just need to leave that bit for now, and come back with it at a later date when you've refined the rest of the body off a little bit. Same with this side. To the bottom, that way, and the bottom, that way. Happy with that. So there we got it through. I thought I'd give it a bit of a recap. Well, he's gone through each side of the arm, back of the arms there, and from the front. And you know, through the legs, and we can start working on the next piece. Don't forget, you still need to round these arms off and decide where you're going to put the elbows. So again, whether you're just going to put the hand by here maybe, going into the pocket, that would be inside the trousers by here, in which case all of this would come off. Or definitely not to remove too much there. You could leave his hand on the side here and have his like thumb over there, and then his fingers down by here. Entirely up to you at this point. Even the trousers, you could leave the flare of the trousers, just cut it back a little bit more and swoop that back down here. Or you can just go through, make these legs a lot thinner again, and then come up to the body and have skinny legs. Again, we will come underneath here and remove this section here, so that will define where that back end of the hands will be, because your hands are only thin compared to your arm. So a little bit of this will come, so they'll come off. And more of this will also come off here. Just need to decide at this point what you're doing with the hands and the elbows. The elbow will be coming up somewhere along there, I would imagine, with today, with mine. And the back of the arm will more than likely cut back to there, so you can round all that off. And the same then the other side. So that's a bit of a recap so far and where we're at. So next, moving on, I would like to try and get a bit more definition of where these ears are going to go. So making sure you keep the block wider for the ear at this point rather than making it thin. So if you draw just a little thin ear like that, you're not going to have much detail on there. So start off with a bigger ear, and then you can sort of trim the back corners off around here, and have that C shape of the ear. But for now, let's just cut everything out from by here, and a little bit around the back of it as well. So where that centre line still is, I'm going to go a little bit to one side of it in the front and a little bit more to the back. So a little bit more on the front. That's right. And then down to here for now, and a bit more of it at the back end there. Okay. So to start this off, let's cut where that ear here is going to be. I'm looking at the front because the nose will come down now in a second as well. Just keep the other side of that line. Go in and deep. You can go in the second time if you want, but a little bit deeper this time. Keep it in the same groove though. Make sure that you've got a stop cut in there and where you're going to go as well. Again, try and keep it in the same groove. And then cut that out. If you can do it in one, all the better. If the arms or hands like mine aren't strong enough, then you might have to go in a second time. What tends to happen, which might happen this time now, I more or less got that in one go. Well, when I say one go, I mean I haven't left sort of tram lines inside there. I'll give you a closer look now. It's just the one line straight in each side of it. And then you can remove a bit more depth from by here by sort of making it flatter to the side, so you've got depth of the ear. And then when you do the nose, you'll be able to do the same thing there and then round that off as well. In there, nice and deep. Come down past the ear line a bit. Go in the corner. Use the table if you need to. Just push down a little bit, not too hard. And then just cut that out from the corner. So you've got a nice clean cut there. Tiny bit actually left in the corner. There we go. It's out. So again, you've got definition there of the depth of the ear. To the bottom. Now you're not going to be able to do that and expect to go really deep. You're going across the grain, no matter how soft or hard your wood is. Again, I'm not that strong. My hand's got gouts, particularly this finger here. I'm not expecting to go right down, but if you put a stop cut into that, halfway down to it, removing that wood, you'll get a bit deeper because the thickness of the blade is obviously narrower at the point than here, so you're not forcing it into wood where there's no space for it to fit. So keeping your stop cut in there, and then you've got the depth there then as well. And then just repeat the same thing the other side, in as deep as you can go safely, and not something you're going to slide away on. Try and go in the second time, the same groove. Use the table, and go down in the corner. Now again, if your hands really aren't that strong, what I have done is go to the corner and just make a chip cut in the corner there. That just eases off the amount of wood that you've got to take off. And again, looking at the tip of your knife, just follow that mark down there and just take a slither off. You don't even have to make it go right through. If you're a millimetre to this side of the line, it'll just chip off anyway. Then come to the bottom bit, make a cut. Now you can see a bit more of the tramp lines this side, depending on which handed you are. Actually, it's better than I thought. See a bit from the ear there where I went in the chip cut in the corner, but that's fine. Back of the ear, same thing. In, slide it down carefully. Control into the corner. Again, use the table if you need to. And take that cut out. Then you can make extra depth just by taking off a bit of the wood to the side here, and then that gives you the depth of the back of the ear there. Again, let's go to the bottom of this ear. There's quite a bit up there. Again, there's no way am I going to expect to get right the way through that with that thickness of a blade. So, do a little bit of mark there. Take that corner off. Do another bit of a mark. Take that corner off. If you're worried about the blades going in that way and leaving lines along here, who's going to see the line eventually when it's painted or oiled up underneath there? Okay, so they're not going to see it, but what you could do is start the ear further out here, take the chip cuts down until you're left with that depth, and I'll show you now what I would do at the end. I'll go down as far as I can here. For a second. Let's have a look at how much of a mark have I left so far. You can see there's a few lines there. Okay, all you've got to do is just take another millimetre further back and then just slice it out that way. All gone. Completely gone. Still need to go down a little bit further. So when you're doing that, like I said, start with the ear further down, but you can always take more off. So cut down a bit, slice in, slice down, cut in until you get to the end. If you've got lines here, just leave the last millimetre so, and then slice down that way to get rid of them. Okay. So I need to go down a bit further this side. So there we got 2 ears, and it's slightly at a different angle, so let's correct that for now. And then we can go underneath the ear to the bottom of the head to give a bit more shape to that. Bottom of the head and the top of the shoulder. Same this side. I know my knife is still sharp. I know that I'm going against the grain, so it looks like if the knife's not really sharp, it's very sharp. I can see that it's sharp because it's not leaving any trails as I slice down that way. There's no lines left on there, chipped out to the blade. So I can even take a bit more of that off. And a little bit more. There we go. Front of his ears will be closer to the head once it's done, so the ear will be sticking out, sort of exaggerated, but like that. So you'll be able to see the back of the ear from here. And the front of the ear will meet the actual face head itself, part of the face and the head. I need to take a lot more of this off here. So now we've got the arms down to a pretty much of a roughed out state that we want it in. We've got the ears defined on the side, and they come in underneath the hat slightly. The back of the head still has a little bit of work, and there's not going to be a lot of work left to do on that. You might draw a line somewhere along here and have sort of hair coming down the back end here. If you wanted to, you could have just had the hat come in further down, just change the angle from that to this. And the hat, the top of the hat then would be sort of going up there. So that top would be with the same level as the brim of the hat, if that makes sense. Just change the hat skewed slightly, and the hat brim could be all the way down there. But we'll carve some nice little pieces of hair out at the bottom there, just with some basic zigzags later on. Still needs rounding up a little bit each side here, but I'll come to that again at the end. Let's work on making sure now that we've got the nose defined a little bit. Then this then will be the underneath the chin and the mouth area. So that's where we've chosen to put the nose. And this will be the brow of his head. Carefully, don't go too much further in here, but otherwise the hat will be sitting on top of the head itself rather than in the head itself. Once you take this down a little bit more on the brim, yeah, it'll look a bit more effective as well. But again, I tend not to come down too far with the brim of the hat, because if you get this any narrower, the chips start coming off from the edge, especially if you're going to sort of let kids play with them a bit or anything like that, or if you want to hand it down over the years and expect it to last. The brim of the hat will just end up coming down, but with chips on it, I mean, you could always throughout the years, or the people in the future will sort of scrape a bit more off the top there with the knife. If you're leaving the hat brim going up like that, which you can still do here, or sometimes you just come just straight round with the hat itself. So yeah, let's get to this nose. Similar to what we did with the ears. Let's create the sides by here. Now then, rather than just going straight to that at a 90-degree angle, as it were, I'm going to slightly turn the knife. I'll exaggerate it, but turn the knife slightly like that and come down that way, leaving this part of the nose as the centre here. If I use the tip of the knife, eventually that will be quite narrow, and this will be the widest part. So basically go in like that. Now again, as you get better at it, then this becomes easier to do, but I'm still a novice beginner, so I'm not going to get this perfect. And if you're a beginner, don't expect that. You will get there in the end though, I'm sure. Okay, so just make a line down, control it, don't go too heavy. I'm going as heavy as I want there, and then just come in at a slight angle, take that chip out. So it's only a slight angle, it's not straight in, it's at an angle, and it's at an angle slightly like that as well. Okay, so I'm going to do the same again, slightly in and at the angle. So I've turned the blade just to go in a little bit more. I'm just going to move that so I know where I'm going. Take another slice out of there, just gently go in with the knife, and it more or less comes out itself. Okay, can you see what it's doing there to the nose? Let me try and focus that in for you. Oh, a bit wobbly. So let's come in there rather than it be level, yeah. So it's going to need more than that. So I'm going to do that one once more. Don't forget to turn the knife slightly. And that might be enough for now. There's that cut out. Now these are those tram lines we talked about earlier on that you sometimes get. Is that focusing? once the camera stops shaking. Can you see that there? Just take a little slither with your blade and it'll come out. And even that at this point doesn't matter too much because you're still going to go down further than that. But if you want to try and keep it clean, as they say, as you're going, then by all means do that. And then the next stage will be, you can do the same thing again, further in at an angle at the top from this line now to the centre there, and keeping that knife at an angle as well. There we go. So we will eventually take it further down, but for now let's just repeat that on the other side. Snipe in at a slight angle. I haven't gone too far in, just a couple of millimeters. I'm going to turn it and just go in as far as I think I've gone on the depth. I can tell that that's not going to pop out because I didn't quite go as deep as that. So I'll go in again at a slight angle. Oh. And then go in from the side and pull it back out. And then again, I'm going to need that slight angle from here up to there in the end, keeping the blade twisted as well. So you've got the nose, just a bit of a definition there of the angles that you're sort of starting to look for. Eventually you will come down here and the nose will go narrower like that. Now we need to get the bottom of the nose done here. So again, in with the knife. Slice it a little bit if you can. Gives you help so you get a little bit deeper, and then go straight across. And once you get into this stage, just be very careful that if your knife is very sharp and the wood is soft, if you go in too hard here, you could slice that nose off. So just shake it back and forward, give it a bit of a slice, and just check if it's ready to come out. There we go. Okay, now you can go further up again than that, for sure. So in again, get a bit of a slice action, go in there, just into where the nose is. Okay, so there's a basic definition of the nose. It's still going to come up further again, and then you'll still be left down with some space down here then for the mouth itself. Okay, let's take it up another notch or two. Just like what you did with the ears, make them bigger to start with, because you can't add the wood back on. Once you've taken it off, it's off. You just have to make do with what you've got, change the characteristic of the body maybe, and work from there. Okay, so now we've got the depth more or less of what the nose is going to be. it's going to be a slight angle off the end there, and the same here. Okay, again at an angle, that direction, as well as 45 degrees to what the bottom was. Or maybe 30 degrees, something like that. Okay, again, we still will come in later on and define this nose so it'll come more like that. We'll do it when we're ready to put marks down the side here of the face from what defines the cheek. Okay.